All right, so welcome to all of the participants joining us to our webinar today, focusing on business continuity for young entrepreneurs. It is being facilitated by our YBC team members from Dominica, and Carrie-Ann, Ms. Carrie-Ann will take us away from there, and she will introduce today's speaker. So, Carrie-Ann.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this Youth Business Caribbean webinar. A business emergency is one of those things you never want to think about until you have to. Whether emergency, natural disaster, man-made catastrophes, death, or incapacity of a business partner, resignation of a top employee, the loss of revenue streams, such as now due to COVID-19. Until one of these things happens to you, you may find it easy to lull in a false sense of security. As a business owner, you need to know exactly what to do to get your business back up and running quickly if something terrible happens to it. This is where business continuity plan proactively outlines what step you will take in your business to recover from, and in some cases, prevent disaster that may occur. This afternoon, our guest is Ms. Lizia Fabian, Executive Director of the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, DAIC, Chairperson of the Network of Caribbean Chambers of Commerce, CARICHAM, and the Civil Society Representative on the Board of Trustees of the Dominica Youth Business. Ms. Fabian will share with us on the topic, Business Continuity Planning for Young Entrepreneurs, the six-step approach. We want to welcome Ms. Fabian and welcome all our participants to this webinar. Ms. Fabian.
Greetings to all, and I'm so delighted to be part of today's webinar. Thank you, Ms. Remy, for this introduction, and I would like to thank the Youth Business Caribbean for being able to share this important topic, which I think will benefit all our young entrepreneurs across the region. I would like to share my screen so that we would be able to start this very important presentation. Okay, great. So, like we said, today we are speaking about business continuity planning for young entrepreneurs, the six-step approach. And today, as part of this presentation, we'll do welcome and introduction, we'll do a poll activity, we'll look at the business continuity planning, key messages and concepts. We'll also do a self-assessment by all the businesses who are present on the Zoom call. And then we look at the six-step COVID-19 business continuity planning approach, and an example of a small business owner who implemented a BCP to mitigate the impact of COVID-19. Then we take question and answer. So I would invite you to share your question and answer in the Q&A box so that we'll be able to answer them on this meeting. Also, there would be someone supporting us on the Facebook page. So if you do share via the Facebook page, we'll still be able to look and respond to your questions there. So let's get right into it. As was mentioned, the Executive Director of the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, and part of what we do is also supporting our members with in mitigating the risk of disasters. We've also been part of the Arise Network, which it's a private sector alliance for disaster risk reduction that looks at supporting how businesses can take ownership in mitigating the risk of disasters and helping our countries to all be more resilient. And with CARICHAM, one of our key pillars focuses on disaster risk reduction. So all around, we see that we need to pay attention to reducing our risk of disasters. And part of the solution of this is ensuring that we have business continuity plans to ensure that our businesses can be more sustainable. Because if our businesses are not sustainable, then we'll not be able to make the impact and the contribution on a national level like we need to. If disasters strike when we least expect it, or if when least expected, then make sure you always expect one. If we see that disasters strike when we least expected, like how Dominica faced Hurricane Maria and how Tropical Storm Erika impacted us. The impacts of these were not as expected, then we should always make sure that we expect one. So let's not wait and say, okay, hurricane season starts June 1st and it ends the end of November. We should always prepare for anything that will impact our businesses. Hence the reason why business continuity planning is so important. Now we'll move to a polling activity, and I would like to invite everyone who's on this call to be able to respond to this question. So I invite the technical team. Yes, it's shared on the screen. So we want to go through this pretty quickly because we want to get a feel of who is part of this call today. So our poll questions, there are 3 questions. First, we look at what sector do you operate in? We have tourism, hotel and accommodation, agro-processing, manufacturing, agriculture, services, telecommunication, transportation and delivery. We invite you to select which sector you operate within. Then we want to understand how long have you been in business? Is it under a year? Is it 1 to 2 years? Is it 3 to 5 years? Over 5 years? We would really want to know how long you've been in business. And finally, do you have a business continuity plan? You could either indicate, yes, I have one that I'm satisfied with. Yes, I have one, but it needs updated. I have started, but not yet completed it. No, but I do want to complete it. And finally, never thought of completing one. So we'd want you to indicate your responses to this. And I think we'll give just a few more seconds just in case anyone just joined and wanted to complete it. So we looked at what sector do you operate in, how long have you been in business, and do you have a business continuity plan? Okay, great. So could we reveal the results of this quick poll? Okay, great. So in going through the poll, we saw that most persons operate within the services sector. That's 79% of businesses. That's quite important. And most businesses, so the other sectors that persons indicated: tourism, hotel and accommodation, manufacturing, and agriculture. Great, thank you for sharing this. Then we look at how long have you been in business? We saw that most have been in business for 1 to 2 years. And then the second highest would be under a year. And then we saw the next would be over 5 years, and then 3 to 5 years. So most businesses 1 to 2 years. I think this is really great that now we're getting to discuss business continuity planning to ensure that you would be able to complete. Now we look at, do you have a business continuity plan? And it's interesting to see the responses here. We saw that most persons do not have a business continuity plan, but they do want to complete one. That's 41%. And then we saw that 28% never thought of completing one. So I'm really hoping that by the end of this, you would be willing and you would really want to complete a business continuity plan. And then some indicated that they have started but not completed. And finally, yes, I have one, but it needs updating. So no one indicated that they do have one that they're fully satisfied with. And through the presentation, we'll see that business continuity plans always need to be updated. So I'm really delighted to see the results of this survey. Thank you so much for sharing, host. So next we move into the business continuity planning, key concepts and messages. Before we get into this, I just want to share with you as well that there's a thin line between being unprepared for a disaster and being negligent. Don't put it to the test, be prepared. So we don't want to be negligent and just lay our hands down and just not do anything. Sometimes things do happen that we are not fully prepared for, but it's important to always be prepared as much as we possibly can be. Now we're looking at the five key concepts for disaster risk reduction. First of all, a disaster impact has no borders. The risk is to us all. So sometimes we see that, okay, if something happens to like COVID-19 affects all of us, I think all our countries and all sectors within our country, we are affected. And if there's someone who's not affected, I'm really delighted to hear that, but disasters impact all of us. Secondly, disaster risk reduction is not a cost, but an investment which is fundamental to business. So if we see that we have to put some money aside to ensure that we secure our data and ensure our data is in the cloud, so that when we are not in the office, or if something happens to the physical building, we can access it. This is not a cost to our business, but it's an investment in ensuring that our business can be sustained. Then the third key message is that the private sector needs to start protecting itself. The government cannot protect the economy alone. So there are things that our private sector can do to actually reduce our risk of disasters, which helps for sustainability. And it's important to ensure that we don't sit around and expect the government to do everything, but there are things that we can do for ourselves. So this is an encouragement that everyone on this call can take some proactive measure to ensure our business can be sustained. And then indirect losses can cripple national economies, kill small businesses, shut down factories, and take away jobs. So sometimes it's not even the direct losses, but indirect losses affect our businesses. And this can significantly impact us that it would close down our small businesses. So it's important to ensure disaster risk reduction measures are put in place to support our businesses. And finally, we look at the private sector is more agile than governments. It can quickly assess risk, promote systems and standards for resilience. Our businesses can put certain measures in place, and it's easy to pivot and maybe change what we do, change a supplier, change a process. And within the government system, it may not be as easy to do this. So we want to encourage that within the private sector, there are benefits, there are ways that we could pivot to ensure the sustainability of our businesses, and we want that to stay in the minds of everyone on this call. Now, business continuity, management and planning, there are two approaches. One, we could be proactive and put measures in place, and two, we could be reactive. In looking at the proactive approach, this is where businesses are able to have a plan in place. That means looking at how we avoid and mitigate risk that's associated with disruptions in our businesses. Or two, we could be responding to an event after the fact. There are sometimes we have been responding to the event, and that means we're reactive to what's taking place. But where we can look at what we need to do before, during, and after, and put measures in place to support our businesses, this is taking the proactive approach. And I really hope that by the end of this call, we all will be taking proactive approaches to support the sustainability of our business. Then I want us to take note that the world is at risk. And when we look at risk, there are different hazards that we are faced with. Oftentimes, and even in Dominica, persons think of, okay, the hurricane season, we prepare from a certain period of time for this 5 or 6 month period. But then during the other times, it's not as, it doesn't seem as important, but it should always be important to us that we are faced with different risks. We are faced with floods, with flooding, severe, windstorms. It's not as prevalent, but that doesn't mean that it cannot happen. Earthquakes, I mean, we can't predict them, but we're all faced with them. Tsunamis, droughts, volcano eruptions, landslides, wildfires, biochemical hazards, pandemics, whatever it is. And all the hazards are not even named here. There are cyber attacks, there are so many other things that could affect our businesses. But we must consider what our businesses are most prone to facing and put measures in place to be able to protect our business and our business processes. So continuity plans are like backup parachutes. You hardly ever need one, but you don't want to operate without one. Imagine if you go skydiving and as soon as you jump from the sky, the parachute that you were supposed to have, that main one, something happened to it, then we would just plummet to the ground. But it's important to ensure that we put measures in place, and it's redundancy. Yes, we can put this measure in place to protect our business, but if this one fails, what happens? we should ensure that there are measures to sustain our business. Now, I want us to look at, and we'll be doing two things. We'll be assessing the business based on 4 key areas, and the 4 Ps are very important to all our businesses. First, we look at people, the lives of our workers and our family members. We also look at processes. What are the operations that ensure that our business can continue? Then profits. How do we actually get profits so that we can sustain our business? And finally, partnerships. What is the enabling environment that we need to carry to our business? And we'll be able to explore some more of these as we continue. Now, we're going to work on a self-assessment, and I would like to invite you to take a pen and paper, and it's going to be interactive because by the end of this part, each business will be able to assess what their risks are based on people, processes, profits, and partnerships. So I'm going to share another screen with you so that we'll be able to go through this part. Okay, great. I hope everyone is seeing this part now. It's where we get to establish our risk profile. So when we go through the questions, I would want you to indicate yes or no. At the end of this section, and for every section we'll be doing, for all the yeses, we will, so it says for all the yeses, right here, we'll be able to add up the points for that. Okay, so take a pen and paper, and we're going to go through these key areas. I just want to give you the heads up that on the people, there will be 20 questions. On the processes, there'll be 8. For profits, there'll be 16. For partnerships, there'll be 17. And the total of that is 61. So based on our responses over the 61, we'll be able to understand which bracket we face, which bracket we fall into, and what we need to do to ensure the sustainability of our business. So the first part is people. We're looking at a safe environment. Okay, and I just want to make sure that we understand that this matrix relates to a COVID-19 business continuity plan. So right now, we would not be able to look at all the different risks that we face with and do a plan for all of this because it's just a 1-hour session. But this can help us to understand how we look at ensuring the sustainability of our businesses. So first of all, there are current personal safety risks, such as high number of COVID-19 cases in the geographical area of your operations. So if that's yes, you put 1, yes. Number 2, is it physically unsafe for workers to come and go from the workplace? Example, using shared public transportation. If that's yes, I think you also put 1. So for all the yeses, we put 1s, and for all the no's, it would stay at 0. So I just want to make sure I follow in the comments if there's any challenge in understanding that part. We'd want to make sure everyone get to participate in this. So yes, someone asked if they'll have access to the PowerPoints. Yes, you would have access to the PowerPoints after this. So if you're following, I just want you to put yes in the comment section so we know that you're ready for us to continue. We're doing the matrix, and we want to ensure that you have your paper and pen and you're able to do this assessment of your business to know how your risk, or what's the risk like of your business. Okay, yes, I'm seeing some yeses. Okay, great. Let's put them all there. I'm seeing a lot more yeses. Okay, great, great. Can we get up to at least 10 yeses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more. Can we have 2 more? 9, 10. Okay, at least we have 10 persons, and I'm seeing more, which is excellent. Okay, great, great. That's quite perfect. So just for those, if someone is joining us right now, we're doing the risk assessment of our business based on the 4 Ps, which are people, process, profits, and partnerships. And the first one we're looking at is people. So for every yes, you put 1, and for every no, you leave it at 0. And we're going through people right now. So I'll just repeat number 1. There are current personal safety risks, such as a high number of COVID-19 cases in the geographical area of operation. Number 2, it is physically unsafe for workers to come and go from the workplace. Example, using shared public transportation. Number 3, there has been an increase in sick leave or absenteeism. So if you have employees, there have been an increase in employees being sick or not being able to show up for work. Number 4, due to the nature of my business, it is not possible to rearrange work so workers can work from home or telework. So we call it also remote working. So if it's difficult for your employees to work from home, you indicate yes. Number 5, are you experiencing difficulties sourcing sufficient sanitation facilities, such as washing facilities, sanitizers, hand gels, gloves, masks? If that's difficult, then you indicate yes. Number 6, vehicles used for your business, example delivery, staff movements, have not yet been fitted with sanitizers and processing for regular cleaning. If the vehicles that you use have not yet been processed with sanitizers and have regular cleaning, then you indicate yes. Number 7, workers have increased care and family responsibilities due to school closure or sick family members. So if your employees have added responsibilities due to the closure of school and sick family members, you indicate yes. Number 8, there has been cases of internal transmission of COVID-19 by staff members or their immediate family. Number 9, workers are less motivated due to a stressful working environment resulting from measures taken to address COVID-19. See that workers are less motivated due to stressful working environment. That's a result of measures taken to address COVID-19. So if you had to put certain measures in place and they are less motivated due to that, that would be a yes. Number 10, workers are leaving their jobs because of potential and actual safety concerns or incidents. So if the workers are leaving their job due to this, that should be a yes. Discriminatory, that's number 11, discriminatory or stigmatization behavior among workers have led to threats and intimidation of fellow workers. If that's a yes, you put it in. I know in some cases, as we're going through this, some businesses may just have one owner and you may not have other employees, but it's just important to at least consider these. If it's no, you indicate no as 0. And if it's yes, you have 1 for that. Number 12, close physical contact with customers and suppliers are necessary. Close physical contact with customers and suppliers is necessary. Number 13, workers have experienced personal trauma due to death or sickness of family members as a result of COVID-19. Number 14, close proximity in the workplace is necessary for production service delivery purposes. So close proximity in the workplace, it's necessary in order to ensure that your service processes continue or your production process continues. Now, number 15. There is a staff member responsible for the daily review of official advice on risk and recommendations in relation to COVID-19. So if there's a staff member who have the responsibility for ensuring that the official advice is adhered to and it's shared among the staff, then that would be, if there's, for that one, I think there was a challenge in this one. So if it's no, I think that is the one that's supposed to carry the 1 point. If it's yes, that's actually a good thing. So we just invert this one for this specific point. Okay, so if you do not have a staff member responsible, then that would carry a 1 point. But if you do have a staff member responsible, that's a good thing. So that would carry 0. Number 16. There are no or few procedures to conduct self-inspections to identify hazards that could result in COVID-19 spread, example, regular health and safety checkups conducted. So if there are no procedures or few procedures to support self-inspection or identifying hazards that could result in the spread of COVID-19, then you indicate yes, which is a 1. Number 17. There are no or few regular audits in your premise to identify current or emerging hazards. So areas that require frequent physical touching. So whether it's opening a door, whether it's any other procedure that requires or that would make the spread of COVID-19 happen, then you indicate yes to that. Then we see the next one, 18, work from home is not possible. Work from home is not possible. If it's not possible, then you indicate 1. If it's possible, that's a 0. 19. Workers are currently not provided with direct training or access to training. Workers are currently not provided with direct training or access to training on COVID-19 preparations and basic measures to protect themselves and others. So if workers do not have this direct training, you indicate yes, which is 1. And 20, my business does not have a process for reporting to public health authorities any known or suspected instances of workers or public confirmed with COVID-19 on the business premise. So if your business does not have a process for reporting to the health authorities or any known or suspected cases, whether the workers or from the public on the business premise, then you indicate yes to this, which is 1. So what I want us to do for this section on the people, let's tally all the ones that we have and put it over 20. Okay, so tally all the ones you have and put it over 20. Okay, so can we get some thumbs up or yes if you have done this section and you're all ready to continue? Any thumbs up? Okay, great, we're saying yes. Great, it's good that you've been following with this and taking note of the areas whether we need to improve on these or if we have been doing well. So as we continue, we're going to move to processes now, where we look at the risk matrix for our process. Okay, so on the risk matrix, we look at 2 key areas. We're looking at buildings and machinery and stock and raw material. So we go into the number, we go to 21 and it goes all the way to 28. So 21 to 28. The first one on the buildings and machinery. You have faced difficulties accessing the necessary equipment and machinery to run your business from your supplier. So if you require purchasing certain equipment or machinery and you face difficulties in getting these from your suppliers, please indicate 1, which is, well, yes, which is 1. Number 2, there has been, now, I know a lot of the businesses, I just want to refer to this, a lot of the businesses operate within the service sector. If there are key services that you need from your suppliers that would be difficult to get at this time and you're unable to get these, because this is a building and machinery, and this example can best relate to a manufacturing agro-processing. But if you experience challenges in getting services from your suppliers, please indicate yes. Okay, so we move to 22. Has there been disruption or significant delays to support services that you need to maintain key equipment and machinery? So where we see this relates to key equipment and machinery for the service businesses, if there are other services that support you in getting these key services from your suppliers, please indicate yes. So whether it's related to transportation, if it's related to utilities or anything that would support you being able to access that service from your key suppliers, please indicate yes. We move to number 23. Your business, example, workers, equipment, and livestock, is neither partly nor fully insured. So is your business, if your business is neither partly or fully insured, you indicate yes, which is 1. Now we move to stock and raw materials. Stock and raw materials. And under this section, we have 5 points that we need to answer yes or no to. So number 24. A high percentage of your raw materials are imported. A high percentage of your raw materials are imported. And if we look at the service business, a high percentage of the inputs of your business are outsourced. So if it's imported or if it's outsourced, then please indicate yes. So for the service businesses, especially if your service is outsourced, or for the businesses who operate with production or have production activities, if it's imported, please indicate yes. Number 25. You have experienced delays in securing raw materials, necessary production through the ports. So if you have significant delays in securing your raw materials through the ports, please indicate yes. And for the service businesses, if you have challenges in being able to outsource your services, please indicate yes. If you have challenges in outsourcing these, or if you have challenges in accessing these through the ports, please indicate yes. Then for the next one, if you have experienced difficulties in securing your key stock and material, please indicate yes. So for the service ones, these two, the 2 of them, it may sound similar, but also please indicate yes. For number 27, your enterprise has been negatively impacted by increased government restrictions or demands, for example, increased health checks, which delays delivery of your products coming through your premise, or if there have been increased restrictions such as certain businesses are not able to operate within their non-essential, or they would not be able to operate or provide you that good or service, please indicate yes. Okay, and then finally, your main stocks and or raw materials are located only in one location. So if your stocks or your raw materials are located only in one location, please indicate yes. Also, if you mainly outsource to one person, please indicate. Well, this one in regards to services, if you normally conduct your service in one location, please indicate yes. So if your stocks and raw materials are located in one location, or for service businesses, if you conduct your service in one location, please indicate yes. So this one was over 8. I would like us to please indicate tally over 8. Based on your responses, those that were yes would be 1, and those that were no would be 0. And as usual, if you have completed this section, I want you to put yes in the chat so that we can know that you're still here with us. And okay, someone asked, can one put not applicable if it does not apply? Okay, if it does not apply, perhaps what you could do, based on the fact that you know the unique situation of your business, see how, if there's anything that could relate to it, and if it's not, if your business is not able to, or if that's a disadvantage to your business, please indicate yes. And if your business has been able to accomplish that, or find some other mechanism to get through that challenge, please indicate no. Okay, we see yeses continue, and I'm happy to see that these names continue to participate, and you're ready to go to the next section. So we've done people and we've done processes. We move to profits next. So I want you to head up profits so that we can go through this next section, profits. Okay. And under profits, we'll be going from 29 all the way to 44, which will be 16 of them, 29 to 44. We're looking at markets, suppliers, society, and the economic environment. So under markets, number 29, COVID-19 disruptions are negatively impacting your clients and the ability to buy your products or services. COVID-19 disruptions are negatively impacting your clients and the ability to buy your products or services. 30, restrictions on freedom of movement are negatively affecting your business. Restrictions on freedom of movement are negatively affecting your business. Number 31, you have a high percentage of goods or services that serve non-domestic markets. You have a high percentage of goods or services that serve non-domestic markets. So if, when we look at trading services, if you depend on tourists coming to your country to be able to purchase your good or service, that's also fitting this, meaning that if most of your customer base depends on tourists coming to your country to purchase these goods or services, that would be a yes. Then we look at 32. We see for 32, these markets are located in medium to high risk countries. So if your customer base is from high risk countries, please indicate yes. 33, there has been a decrease in sales to these markets. If there's been a decrease in sales to these markets, please indicate a yes. If someone said that this is not relevant, then that would mean 0, which is no. But if it's relevant, then you indicate yes, which is 1. Then we move to suppliers. Disruptions are negatively impacting your main suppliers and the ability to supply inputs to your enterprise. So if we see that disruptions are negatively impacting your main suppliers and the ability to provide the good or service, the raw material or whatever is necessary for your business to operate, then please indicate yes. 35. You have experienced disruptions in your supplies due to increased government restrictions. You have experienced disruptions in your supplies due to increased government restrictions. 36. You have only one supply route to access your key suppliers. So you have only one supply route to access your key suppliers. So whether that is for a good or for a service, you'd be able to figure out, is it one way that I get in touch with my, I'm able to access these products or services from my suppliers? Whether it's a service via online, well, if it's online, that maybe a good thing because most persons are still connected right now. But if you got this service through only one way that you're unable to now, then that could apply. We look at 37. You do not have an alternative supplier that could provide goods or services in case of disruption. You do not have an alternative supplier that could provide goods or services in case of disruption. Then we move to 38. You rely heavily on foreign suppliers for most of the key inputs or raw materials needed for your business. You rely heavily on foreign suppliers for most of the key inputs and raw materials needed for your business. And that could be over 75% of your key inputs would be pertaining to this. So the foreign suppliers would provide over 75%. If that's yes, you indicate 1. If that's no, that would be 0. Now we move to society. 39. There has been a rise in societal intolerance and prejudice as evidenced in the media, street demonstration, political discourse, among others. So if there's been a rise in societal intolerance and prejudice, which includes social media as well, please indicate yes. 40. The current media environment has negatively influenced the working environment. If the current media has negatively influenced the working environment, please indicate yes. Now we move to economic environment. And there are 4 questions on the economic environment, and that would sum up profits. Number 41, COVID-19 is impacting on economic activity that directly impacts your business or the markets you operate in, or you expected it to. So if COVID-19 has already directly impacted the markets you operate in, or you expect it to, then you indicate yes. Number 42. Unemployment rates are rising in the markets you operate in. If unemployment rates are rising in the markets that you operate in, please indicate yes, which is 1. Now 43. There has been an increase in actual criminal activity or increased risk of criminal activity directed at your enterprise as a result of depressed economic activity. If there's been an increase in actual criminal activity or increased risk of criminal activity directed at your enterprise as a result of this, please indicate yes, which is 1. And number 44. The final one of this, there has been a sudden increase in the price of inputs and other goods required to conduct your business operations. So if there's been a significant increase in the price of the inputs that you require, whether the goods or service, then please indicate yes, which is 1. And I want us to now tally the points, tally the number 1s that we have for this section, and we take note of it over 16. Then we move to the final section, which deals with partnerships, and this would be over 17. So we go quickly through this. We look at public utilities. We have water, electricity, health, and sanitation. So 45, there has been significant or ongoing disruptions of key public utilities, that is either water, electricity, telecoms, health, and sanitation, that has negatively impacted your business or the markets you operate in. So if these have negatively impacted your business, you indicate 1. 46, there has been significant or ongoing disruptions of key public utilities, whether the same we identified previously, water, electricity, telecoms, health, and sanitation, that has negatively impacted your workers. So the first one dealt with impacting your business or the markets you operate in, and this one deals with impacting your workers. That means there's sanitation at home. That means that if you do have employees, it would be important to understand how they are affected at their home and the ability to continue to operate in as they have been accustomed to. 47. Has there been negative or sudden change of the cost related to public utilities? Has there been negative or sudden change relating to the cost of public utilities? 48. Has there has been an increase in corruptive practices for access to public utilities or public infrastructure, even such as healthcare? If there have been an increase in corruptive practices, please indicate yes, which is 1. Then we move to 49. We look at third parties, customers, competitors, financial providers. COVID-19 disruptions are negatively impacting your competitors and their ability to remain competitive. If COVID-19 is negatively impacting your competitors and their ability to remain competitive, please indicate yes, which is 1. Now, number 50. There's limited or no scope to collaborate with competitors, that is to share health and safety practices and equipment. If there's limited or no scope to collaborate with these, that's yes, and that's 1. Number 51. There is limited or no scope to collaborate with competitors, that is to share stock. So the first one is to share health and safety practices, and the second one is to share stock. The third one, there's limited or no scope to collaborate with competitors to share equipment. The number 53, the final one under the third party section, there has been a negative change in access to finance or behavior of financial service providers that, for example, increased lending obligations, less choice of providers that could negatively impact your operation. So if there's a challenge related to negative access to finance or the behaviors of the institutions who provide this financial assistance, then please indicate yes, which is 1. Number 54. We look at public infrastructure and then the political environment. So for public infrastructure, restrictions to accessing public infrastructure have been put in place that negatively impacts your enterprise or the market you operate in. So if there have been public restrictions to public infrastructure that limits your business operations, then that's yes, which is 1. Number 55, there is increased cost of using key public infrastructure that negatively impacts your enterprise or the market that you operate in. There is an increased cost in using whatever the public infrastructure could be, and this provides or this negatively impacts your enterprise or the market you operate within. Please indicate yes. Then we look at the political and regulatory environment. There has been any negative or sudden changes in regulations, that is laws or the regulations that negatively impacts your enterprise or the markets you operate in. So if there have been any new laws, the SROs, if these affect you in any way, please indicate yes, which is 1. 57, there's an increase in uncertainty in policy or regulatory environment that could negatively impact your enterprise or the market you operate within. So if there's something that could impact you, then please indicate yes. 58, there has been any or has there been any negative or sudden changes of regulations, that is laws and regulations that negatively impacts your workers. So the first one was the market you operate in, and then this one is your workers. If it affects them, then please indicate 1, yes, which is 1. 59. The government has not yet introduced subsidies that could be for rent or wage subsidies that could help my business and workers during this time. I know a number of our countries have, but not all of our countries have implemented this. So if they have, then that would be no. But if they have not yet done this, then that would be yes, which is 1. And then we look at the final 2 statements, the overall health. Number 60. Measures such as state of emergency or major restrictions on freedom of movement have been put in place or threatened to be put in place. If that has been done, then that would be yes, which is 1. And then the final one, my business does not have a contingency plan for situations of crisis. If your business does not have one, you indicate yes. And if your business do have one, you indicate no. Okay, so now we tally this one. This is over 17. So please tally how much you have over 17. And I would want us now to look at summing up all the amounts that we have. So if you continue to look, we did people, processes, profits, partnerships. And I invite you to tally your score over each of the sections. So the people over 20, processes over 8, profits over 16, partnerships over 17, and total over 61. Okay, so the next important part, I hope everyone has finished that section. Did everyone finish tally their points? I hope you have. If you have finished tally their points, please indicate yes, so that we know that you're here and we're ready to move on to the next section. I know it was a long exercise, but it really helps us. And I hope that even as you've been going through the different statements, it helps us to realize certain things that can affect our business and certain measures that we could even put in place to limit the amount, limit the way that our businesses are being affected. Okay, great. I see we have a number of businesses who are still connected and following us on this section. So this next slide, I do hope that you're still able to follow the slide, helps us to see that based on the total that we have indicated, where our business is located in this index. So if your business, if your points have been between 40 to 61, it says that your enterprise is highly vulnerable to the negative impacts of the COVID crisis. And your enterprise is likely to be severely impacted, which may cause long-term disruption in the event of a deterioration in the situation. And your next plan of action should be to identify whether you are most vulnerable to internal or external threats and take measures to reduce that risk that you're vulnerable to in relation to COVID-19. So it says that you're highly vulnerable. It's not the end of everything because there are still measures that can be put in place, but it's important to understand if the threats are internal or if they're external. Then we look at if you have 20 to 40 points, it says despite having taken some actions to increase your preparedness, because based on the responses to this, you may have taken some good measures to increase your preparedness, but your vulnerability still remains. So it's still important to understand whether these threats are internal or if they are external, and make sure that you prioritize the different elements within your company, especially when you're establishing your business continuity plan. And the final one for if your points indicate 0 to 20, if it's between 0 and 20, then you are on the right path to becoming more resilient. But there are still areas that could still reduce your vulnerability. So we encourage you to make sure that you establish your business continuity plan in a way to manage your risk and your external or internal and external threats. So all of us, we are still susceptible to different vulnerabilities. All of us are affected in some ways. There are certain things we have control over, which are internal, that we can take different actions to reduce. And there are certain things that are external to us, but we'll see that it is important within the 6-step approach to see how we can mitigate these challenges. Okay, some have indicated their points. So if you do want to indicate your points, you could put it there just to share with the others where your point standing is at. Okay, so we'll continue and we'll still be able to observe if others are indicating their points and they would want to share with other persons here on this call. Now, we see there's a 6-step approach that can now help us with business continuity planning. First of all, it's important to identify our key products and services. Identifying our key products and services. What are the key services we need for our businesses to continue? Or what are the key products that will ensure the sustainability of our business? The share of income that these services or products generate, the amount of clients who demand them, this is extremely important, and the cost of if you do not deliver. Is there a negative financial consequence, productivity consequence, or reputational consequences? It's important to ensure that we do understand and identify which key products and services are important for our businesses to be sustained. Then we look at number 2, establishing the objective of our business continuity plan. What is the objective of your plan? What do you want to achieve by establishing a business continuity plan? Is it that you want to ensure that you're able to maintain your relationships, that you're able to continue delivering your products or services to your customers, also ensuring that you are able to support your employees, which are also your customers, the customers to your business? It's important to understand what you want to achieve by establishing your business continuity plan. Then we look at the third one, step number 3, evaluating the potential impact of disruptions to your business, your enterprise, or your workers. You would have to be able to understand how long can interruptions last before it becomes unacceptable. How long can you stay without delivering your products or service to your customers before they decide that they are no longer able to, they no longer want to do business with your company? It's important to understand that. Also, what are the resources that are required by the suppliers, by your partners, by contractors to be able to ensure that you can conduct your key operations? It's important to understand the impact of the disruptions on your enterprise and your workers. Number 4, we see that listing, it's important to list the actions to protect your business. So we looked at the 4 P's earlier. We looked at people, we evaluated everything, and I think that even from the statements, we'll be able to see how better we could even help to evaluate this. The lives of our workers and our family members, dealing with people. For processes, looking at the operations of our enterprise, or whether we look at profits and how we generate revenue, or even partnerships, the enabling environment, which includes the utilities, which includes whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's the youth business trust, or if there are other organizations who support your business, all the youth business trusts across the region. I see that a lot is being done to help support within this time. Ensuring that you strengthen your partnership with these organizations can help you with your sustainability and your business continuity planning. Then we look at number 5. This is a very important step, establishing your contact list. Establish your contact list, whether it is via making sure that you have an adequate list of all your key stakeholders. So that includes your employees. That's extremely important. Do you have contact with your employees apart from the working environment? Or do you have contacts with your key suppliers, the persons who you need to be able to deliver that product or service? If you're not able to access them in the traditional route, how do you ensure that you're still able to connect with them? And there are other key stakeholders which support your business in one way or another, whether it's the financial institution that you may have taken a loan with. It's still important to keep in touch with them, because I mean, if they do not hear from you during this time, especially if there's a challenge in meeting your obligations, then that may reduce your credit rating or the trust of your business and how you're able to manage your operations. So we really encourage you to ensure that you establish your key contact list, but also ensure that you maintain the relationships that you've established with these key contacts, which are necessary for your business to continue. And finally, some persons may think that if I have a business continuity plan, that's the end of it. I'm happy to see that even from the poll we did earlier, the businesses who have implemented a business continuity plan still desire to add more, to develop and to continuously improve that business continuity plan. So it's important to ensure that we don't say that it's perfect, because there are new risks that we are always faced with, new hazards that come our way. So it's important to see how we can continuously maintain this. So first we looked at ensuring that we identify our key products and services. Then we established the objective of our business continuity plan, making sure we know why we're doing this, because if we know the why, then it will help us to be able to find the best solutions for that. Then we look at evaluating the impact of disruptions to our enterprise or our workers, because it's not just about the business. We have to remember that people, it's extremely important to focus on people. And then we list the key actions to protect our business. What key actions are critical to ensure that our business can be sustained, whether it's moving online. We've seen some businesses decided to do delivery as opposed to just wait for customers to come to their place of operation, or pivoting and deciding that, you know what, maybe I would deliver the service in person. Perhaps I could provide some expertise to my customers to keep the relationship with them, so that when things get back to normal, or if there's a new normal, I'm still able to provide the service that I did to that client before. And ensuring that we could establish the key contact list, maintaining and constantly reviewing and updating our business continuity plan. That is extremely important. Now, I wanted to share with you the example of a business owner. It is not within our region, but I wanted us to be able to see this example and see how we could learn from the example of this business owner. Her name is Joyce M. Kumura. Joyce M. Kumura. So without butchering the surname, I would just relate to the first name, which is Joyce operates a sardines company in Kenya. And in Kenya, that part is called Mombasa, which is close to the coast. And she sells her products directly throughout Kenya to larger firms who export. Joyce relies on three main companies for 80% of her business. So without these three key companies, she would only be able to sell 20%. And due to their connections to the export market, they send their orders regularly. But as the COVID-19 spread across Kenya, Joyce developed a business continuity plan to be able to protect her business. Now, in total, she has 30 employees. And Joyce completed a risk assessment, just like what we did, and she realized that her risk profile was very high. And she dealt with multiple suppliers on a daily basis. Her workers, they work in close proximity to the business, and she was reliant on the port staying open for much of her sales. Imagine if that happened within the Caribbean, well, unlike how things are happening within the Caribbean right now. And the rest of her sales mostly went to other Kenyan cities, and she needed reliable transportation links locally. So Joyce realized she needed a business continuity plan. And I think just like how we saw from the assessment that we did, we all do need a business continuity plan. So one, Joyce identified her key products. For her main product was canned sardines, and sales of these products meant that's the only way revenue is generated. Without the sardines, she would not be able to have any income coming into a business, any revenue coming to a business. Then her client base is relatively small, and she has three main customers, which was mentioned, comprises of 80% of her sales. And the cost of non-delivery to these customers would have a high negative consequence on her business. So Joyce decided, number two, that she would establish the objective of her business continuity plan. She looked at the 4 Ps. First of all, she looked at maximizing the physical and emotional safety of herself and her workers. That dealt with people. She looked at resuming operations as quickly as possible following disruptions. That's a process. She looked to make sure that her key products and services, or her key products, are resilient to disruptions associated with COVID-19. She looked at safeguarding. She wanted to safeguard her supply chain. And finally, she wanted to ensure that her enterprise fulfilled its contractual obligations with her clients. The third one, like we saw, she evaluated the potential impact of disruption to her enterprise. So in doing that, she assessed the key disruptions, the impact of the key disruptions to her operations, and what operations are required to produce and deliver the products that would ensure that she had limited downtime as much as possible. She looked at how long can her key operations be out of action before it became highly damaging to the business. So even in looking at your business experience, how long would it take for, if you're unable to provide that key product or service before it is damaging to your business? Then she identified what key operations were required to produce and deliver the products where the risk was located. This involved a short stakeholder mapping exercise. So that's another thing I want you to note. Ensure that you do a stakeholder mapping exercise so that you're able to track how you can minimize your disruptions to your stakeholders. And there were 5 main stakeholders that were critical to her business, and I'm just going to go through them quickly. Her workers. So Joyce had 30 workers that are drawn from the local business community. Fortunately for her, most of them live locally and they walk to work. Then she looked at her customers. 80% of her customers were from foreign markets, and the remaining 20% from the local, within Kenya, but 15% were not within the immediate community that she was in Mombasa. Then she looked at suppliers. She depended on 3 suppliers. For the sardines, she would have to have the tins, the business who would do the printing on the tins, and finally, the local fishermen who were part of the cooperative. And all the suppliers regularly require communication, but physical contact was most important with the fishers. She looked at support services. This includes a trucking company that she uses regularly and a security company. So without the trucking and security, these were support services. It's not her direct operations, but these ensure that her business would be successful. And then she looked at public utilities and regulatory authorities. That include the food standard bodies, those who issue license for different things, the health and safety standards. Now, this mapping exercise helped Joyce to see just how important it is to ensure her relationship with her stakeholders for the success of her business. She looked at each of them quite carefully. So she assessed the main disruptions. If her workers fell sick, if there were government restrictions on the movement of her goods and the ability of her employees to come to work. She also looked at the government restrictions on accessing the port, if that would affect her ability to export her goods. Then looking at the inability of government utilities to provide services. So if she's unable to get water, electricity, that would be of chief concern. I know for a lot of us right now, if we don't get internet, that is a major challenge. We would not even be able to have this call right now. And then she looked at the drop in demand of her products. So she thought about the events that were outside her control, and she looked at what she can actually control and what she can't. And then for the 4th step, Joyce decided to take certain actions to protect her operations. So we looking at people. She decided to limit the contact points within her business and ensure that there's sanitation points set up. This may not be applicable in that sense to all businesses, as many businesses are service related. But then apart from the safety and sanitation concerns, she reviewed her standard of working and adapted to the new social distancing criteria. So she would require new shift arrangements, which she discussed with her workers. And she also prepared for absenteeism. That means if workers did not show up for work. She looked also at processes. So while leading the overall initiative, she asked workers to volunteer for different tasks, whether it is one who's taking record of the sanitation points, one who's checking the temperatures at another place, one who's dealing with the information flows, and different employees supported in different ways. So it was important that she didn't try to manage all the different aspects by herself, but she sought the support of her workers. She also discussed with all her customers and her suppliers the safety concerns, because if her suppliers did not adhere to the proper sanitation measures and safety control, that would impact the quality of her product. Then she still paid some suppliers and fisher persons in cash, and she used this as an opportunity to move her payments into a digital format. So due to this, she looked at the different opportunities to change how she was doing business to ensure that it's more efficient. And then she backed up, importantly for everyone, she backed up all her data regularly and automated her backup. And she also kept it additionally at home in case she had to self-isolate. So we know that we could use the cloud, and if we have internet in both locations, then if it's saved to a secure location online, it's easy to access it anywhere that we go. Then she looked at profits. She noticed that the demand for her teen products was rising, especially as we saw persons purchasing more. So in some cases for our products or services, it may not be that we have a decline in the demand of our products and service, but there could be an increase. And there was an opportunity here for her. So she had to discuss with a 5-star hotel to see how she could use their cold storage space. Because we see for many of the hotels, they're empty and they have very limited occupancy. So it was a good opportunity for her to partner with the hotel in order to utilize their space as secondary storage. So her final product would have a longer shelf life, which would have been a real advantage to her. Then she discussed with her main suppliers and the Fisher Cooperative that they also had agreements with all the cooperatives on the coast. So where she saw that she may have had challenges with her suppliers helped in even getting their own redundancy, that even in case they were not able to provide that service to her, she was still able to, or the raw materials, she was still able to access the goods that she needed, the input she needed to continue producing. Then she also worked out her daily operational costs, making sure she really understands. And that's one of the key things I want to impress upon all our business owners here today, is to ensure that we have proper record keeping. Because if we have proper record keeping, we're able to understand what our operational costs are and be able to make better decisions as to how we safeguard and able to meet our expenses. If we just continue doing business every day and doing whatever we want and not taking record, then certain things will creep upon us, and we may see, eventually we may find out, how comes I don't have enough cash to meet my daily operations? But revenue does not mean profit. Revenue does not mean profit. It's important to understand that we take records so we know how much revenue we're getting, we know how much expenses that we have, so that we can track everything and make better decisions for businesses. And then she had a regular conversation with the bank that provided her credits. If you do have a line of credit, ensure that, like Joyce, you do the same, keeping that communication with your bank or credit facility. And then finally, with partnerships, she looked at discussing with her 3 main exporting clients. She suggested to them that they work along with the associations that would help to ensure that they can advocate with the government to keep the ports open so that she can continue her business. If she just operates as an isolated business, then certain measures that could be advocated for, she may not be able to benefit from this because she didn't come together as a body with other like-minded businesses to be able to advocate for measures to support the business community. She also struck an agreement with other MSMEs to share certain measures and safety tools and practices and certain things that they could do together as a grouping as opposed to working alone. So not just relating to the organizations that support, but also all the SMEs who she's able to partner with to ensure the success of her business. And then step number 5 that Joyce took, she established a key contact list. So the same like we mentioned, key contact list of authorities and third parties, which even include emergency services, the police, the hospitals, insurance companies, and others. And she also made a list of her workers and their details, and also, importantly, emergency contacts for them. She also made a list of her key clients, her suppliers, contractors, and different persons that she worked with, because it was important to be able to keep in communication with them. And then she selected communication methods such as whether it's Facebook, WhatsApp, Google Forms, other ways, so that she could establish a communication tree to keep in touch with her workers during this time and other key persons. And finally, Joyce knew that it's not just a one-time plan for this business continuity plan, but it's constantly looking at the objectives of her business continuity plan At one point, it could have been focusing on her workers, another point focusing on her process, but there may be different objectives as the situation changes. And she continued to look at her risk, continued to assess her risk to see how she needs to change her objectives and to be able to put measures in place to support this. And she also ensured continual improvement of all her processes included in her BCPs. So I hope that from this experience of Joyce, we got to see how she dealt with the 6 key areas, how she identified her key products and services, how she looked at establishing the objective of her business continuity plan, how she looked at minimizing the impact of disruptions to her enterprise, listing the key actions to protect her business, and establishing the contact list of all the key persons, all the stakeholders, which will ensure the success of her business. And finally, she looked at continuously maintaining, reviewing, and updating of that BCP. I want to encourage you that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We've heard it a number of times and it may seem cliche, but really with a business continuity plan, it helps to prevent you from failing. And some say that it's important to fail often and fail fast, but if we do, or if we may have failed in an area, it's important to pivot and see how we can improve on it. Someone asked recently, when I made a presentation similarly on business continuity planning, how can the tourism industry would have known that COVID-19 would have impacted them in such a way, and how would they prepare for something like this? Well, for all our businesses and in life, we all face different challenges, and we may never know that we're able to fail certain challenges. But if we put ourselves in a way that we can limit the impact of these, and we are aware that we can make certain decisions to protect our business, we have a model and a frame of mind to operate from, it could help us to reduce our risk of failing and disasters and total closure of our businesses. So I really want to thank you for being part of this presentation, for going through the assessment, for evaluating your business, and I hope that you will make a step towards updating, enhancing, improving, implementing your business continuity plan for the success of your business. We just have one more poll, one more question. That's just a one question to understand what you plan to do from the information that was shared. So will you work on your business continuity plan after this seminar? Yes, I will within the next month. Yes, I will within the next 3 months. Yes, eventually, maybe, or not interested. I invite you to respond to this. Just give a few more seconds as you respond to this poll.
Ms. Fabian, before while they're responding to the poll, we have one question. Somebody's asking, do you see social distancing, mask, hand washing, and sanitizing staying with us as COVID restrictions are lifted? I am in the wedding and event industry. Protocols and procedural changes, will they be the new normal? What do you think?
Well, I think getting back to normal, we'll never be able to get back to any normal state. Even from our experience after Maria, there's never a getting back to what was before. But I think that based on the advice of the health professionals, PAHO and our local health professionals, they will inform us as to what they think is best to protect the safety of our countries and our citizens. So it could be that for an extended period of time, for several months to come, or even up to next year or beyond, persons may still have to implement social distancing, hand washing, using of masks, and these other restrictions. I think that could be a challenge for the wedding and events industry, but it could be a new opportunity for you to even be able to set a new standard of how weddings can be very hygienic, and people see that your business is elevating the standard of how to have the safest wedding. Then they may even want to come to you for all the services, because though they may have been hopefully people not always getting married, but they may have had their friends or family members may have used someone else. If they see you setting that standard and they know that they can protect their guests at that wedding, then you could be a key person for helping them to have the best wedding experience with a new normal that's coming. So though, that's a very good question that you asked, though we may see new normals coming, but that could be new opportunities for us in order to elevate our quality, the quality that we provide to our customers.
Someone has also said very informative session.
Thank you so much. And I think we'll close the poll so that we could see the results of this. Great. I'm so happy to see that 52% of the businesses here on this call indicated that within the next month, that means within the next 4 weeks, we're taking action towards working on our business continuity plans to minimize the disruptions to our business. Today is the 6th of May, and we know that the hurricane season starts soon, but it may not just be a hurricane, it could be an earthquake that takes place and damages a large, I hope this doesn't happen, but it could be an earthquake, it could be a volcano, it could be anything. And I'm really happy to see that within the short term, many of the businesses will be able to implement or work on their business continuity plan to limit their risk.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fabian. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for sitting in, our participants for sitting in. I am hoping that we got a lot of information, and I hope that it will help us in finally developing or improving our business continuity plan, because that is something that we see essential, especially for our small businesses, to get us back on our feet after a disaster or emergency has affected us. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon.
You're most welcome, and thanks for having me.
You're welcome.